Hello, and thank you for listening. My name is Luke Mardigian. I'm the owner of the Mardigian Agency in Lansing, Michigan. A lot of people ask me, why do you have a radio show? Well, it's because we've been able to accomplish something that most insurance agents aren't able to do, and that's having a scalable sales team and a self-managing operations team. And that's allowed us to grow to about double the size of the average captive insurance agency in the United States. And on this show, we teach you the strategies and tactics that we use to do that. And on today's show, it is part 2 of last week's episode, and it's a no-brainer. We have 2021. It's a series called No-Brainers and Never Happens, things that in your business are no-brainers and things that should never happen. And one of them is a no-brainer: having a hiring process and sticking to it. So do you have a defined hiring process? If you don't, we do. And we are going to give you our exact process that costs our consulting clients thousands of dollars to implement. And we do it for them. We're going to give you that exact process for free right here on Be Insured. So joining me for today's show is our special guest,
Alec Nirenberg, Director of Operations for the Mardigian Agency.
Thanks for joining us, Alec.
Of course.
And let's quickly recap our previous conversation. Why is it critical to have a defined hiring process and stick to it?
Structure. Clarity for you and your business, and you know where you're at in the process of that, and also to attract good talent. You want people that see structure. They recognize clarity and a process, a clear cut process.
Yep.
Maybe even contingencies if something goes sideways in the hiring process, and you're gone for 3 weeks, but you still got to fill a position. Is there a way to fill your void while you're out of the office and still hire that good talent, or something like that, or
if you're a small business owner, even just to delegate it to somebody, right? Because you have a system, you have a process.
Yep.
And then I think the third thing that we talked about was just the how it builds a culture.
Yeah,
because
right. Trusting culture.
Yeah, if people have to go through a process and they have to earn their position at your company, and everyone's gone through it, they're going to have immediate trust and respect for that person, and it's going to strengthen your culture because they know that you're working hard to protect it.
Right. And if you have a team of 8 players and talent, and you bring somebody on that's not that, you have all of this talent and probably egos to come with it and all of that, and then you bring somebody on that's half the caliber in some one way or another, it's not going to mesh, I don't think, or maybe it could. Maybe they bring that person up to speed, but I think it's more likely to not work.
No, I think it does. It hurts culture.
Yeah.
And if you're protecting it and your team knows you're protecting your culture, people only protect that which is valuable.
Yeah. Right.
So like thieves will just look for places that look like they should break in.
Yeah.
They might not even know what's inside, but if they're protecting it, there's probably something valuable inside of it, right? So let's talk about how to do this. The execution. This is what we promised you, our exact process of hiring A players consistently. And this does work, and it works across industries, and it has worked numerous times in our industry. Well, number one, I think that one of the things that people really miss, and this is the hardest part of consulting, to be honest with you, is figuring out the core values of the company and how that affects the position that you're hiring for. And then being able to write out a really, really good job description.
For sure. An accurate job description.
Yes. Yeah. And not even just accurate as far as what they're going to be doing, but the spirit of what they're going to be doing.
Yes.
When you go on Monster, Indeed, and LinkedIn, and you look at jobs, okay, like I know that you've seen a million job listings, right? Isn't that what you did before? Is kind of help
I would
veterans connect them into college and then employers.
Yeah.
And when you look at job listings, they all have this very like analytical, like a dictionary description
definition
of what it is,
what your role is.
Yeah. People don't care about that.
Right.
They actually don't. Like they genuinely want to kind of know what the job is about, but they want to know the spirit of the job. Right. Like what does them doing that job contribute to society and to the business?
A purpose.
Yes.
Yeah.
And studies have shown that people will take a lower salary to join something that is meaningful and has a meaningful impact on the world. And they'll take a lower salary versus going to a company that they can make more where they don't feel like they have as much of an impact.
Right.
So your job description, the way that we build that, this is like really nuanced, and I'm going to try to explain it to you the best I can. It actually gets quite difficult unless you go through our process of really refining this, but hopefully you already have core values. And if you do, you can learn to apply them. You go through and you think about, okay, so like the most common is like an administrative spot, right? It's this really kind of run-of-the-mill job description administrator. And you could be in any industry administration. You're answering phone calls as a receptionist for a heating and cooling company. You are doing billing work for a small doctor practice. You are a scheduler for a hospital. It doesn't matter what the administrative spot is. It's how the core values apply to that position.
Yes.
Okay. So for us, we don't hire a customer service rep. We're hiring somebody who is going to be our customer fulfillment representative. We sell a promise to our clients, and the people who work in our customer service, customer fulfillment, we still call them CSRs because that's the industry standard, customer service rep. They are the most important part of the process, because we can sell all we want, but if we can't fulfill the promises that we gave them, we're not going to keep the business.
Exactly.
And then we're going to be on the treadmill, and we're just going to be going over and over and over. And
then it's turn into a transactional organization and all of that.
And your retention's down. And in our industry, even 1% retention increase equals a lot of dollars. Yep. Retention is the key to growth long term.
Lifetime value gone.
Yes. And we look at lifetime value of clients. That's how we measure things. And so we're even okay with losing money in a year, or first year or two, if it means we keep them for 30 years. Yep. And so that is totally different than responsible for data entry
and submitting this report on Tuesday.
Answering phones, responding to clients' needs, keeping our customer relationship management software up to date. Like, that is not going to attract a talent.
Right. You go from checking these boxes to this is your purpose in this organization, and without you doing that job to the best of your ability, we fail.
Yes.
So
in order to attract a talent, you actually need good advertising copy. Think of your job description not as a job description or job definition, but as advertising copy. You are trying to attract a very particular type of person who wants to work for you and wants to do this job because they see the bigger meaning and the bigger purpose. So for us, our core values are, it's PERMA is the acronym: positivity, engagement, relationships, meaning, and achievement. So as I type out the customer service rep job position, I'm weaving in those concepts, building strong relationships with our clients so that they feel like our only client, stuff like that. And it's tough because not every business owner is a wordsmith. And that's why most people hire outside consultants like me to do this.
There's nothing wrong with that at all. No. It should be encouraged more than it is.
Well, option B is you spend 4 months of your time and interview 10 people who aren't going to work out, or even worse, you hire 10 people who don't work out.
Right. Yeah.
So to me, this is the most underrated piece of the hiring process, is having a really, really strong job description. Yep. If you don't know how to do it, you can reach out to us, lsm.consulting. There's a spot for you to enter in your email to get one of our free reports that will trigger emails to you, and you can get in touch with us, lsm.consulting. And so let's talk about more on the execution side. All right. So job description is key. We're trying to knock this very complex, lengthy hiring process in 15 minutes. So job description is key. Having good advertising copy that you can post is the key. Now, it should involve, the hourly wage range, and you need to be transparent about those things, and you should put in some like really high level responsibilities. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is why is this job important to the world? How are they in service to other people? And how would it positively impact your agency? Because what's important to your agency is. Right. And when you knock those things out, you're able to create a really, really strong job posting that immediately attracts a talent. Right. Now, you're still going to get all the crappy, most of the crappy people too. So the next step is reviewing the resumes. So things like the way I identify A players, looking for cover letters. Did they just fill in the Indeed.com basics of the job history and all that stuff? Or did they actually upload a personalized PDF of their resume? So I go through all those. I use a software called WizeHire, WizeHire.com, WizeHire.com. And they actually have like almost like a CRM, like a customer relationship manager for your hiring process. And so you can move people through the funnel. And I customize my steps of the funnel so that it matches this process. But the first thing is looking at those resumes. I throw them in qualified or I disqualify them. And I look very specifically as, did they personalize the resume? Does it say I'm applying to the Mardigian agency for this job because I feel my skill set XYZ would match up with?
Or is it just general you could throw out there to 100 different agencies?
Yes. And it's, it's A players don't do that. A players are interviewing the business as much as you're interviewing them.
It's worth taking that 4 minutes to do.
Yeah.
It is
every job
time.
I ever applied for, it was very specific.
For sure.
And that's why when I wanted a job, I got it because as an A player, I pursued that job. I wasn't applying because it might work out and it sounds cool or I wanted to make the money. I'm doing it because I think it's meaningful and I think the organization is one I want to be a part of. Those are the two things that A players look for. Is my work meaningful? Is this an organization I want to be a part of? The details kind of work themselves out from there. So once I do that, then I set up 2 to 3 phone calls with who I think are the top 2 or 3 candidates. I have a very specific list of questions that I ask, and I ask them in a very specific order, and I tell them about our hiring process in that interview. And so they know that this is like a 7 or 8 step hiring process, that it's not going to be a decision that's made tomorrow, and that you're going to have to jump through some hoops if you want this job. Many times that pretty much ferrets them out from the word go. Right. And you can tell they're just not really committed to it. But for those you think it would be good to move on, we send them the Humble, Hungry, Smart questionnaire. Now, this is something that I borrowed from Wes at Unleashed CEO. I had never used it before. It was not part of my process until you were hired, Alec. And the Humble, Hungry, Smart questionnaire has a series of questions very similar to your phone interviews, but they're actually able to sit down and type it out. Right. And you can take the time to think through how you'd answer that question and the best way to answer it. And maybe they're not great on the spot people like on that phone call, but maybe they could actually think through it and give you some really good examples that add more value and make them more valuable than what you thought on the phone call. Right. You filled out the Humble, Hungry, Smart questionnaire, and I was really impressed by it. What was kind of, as an A player going into it, what were your thoughts on the fact that you had to fill out this basically long form essay?
It was, I think mine was actually like 2,000 words or something. It was probably close to it. I knew it couldn't be too short. I had to have detail. I'm an attention to detail, like psychopath anyways, not in a good way all the time.
But the position I was hiring for, very clear attention to detail was important.
I knew that had to be included, and I had to have personal examples, and I knew that being a little vulnerable in my experience and giving some stories that were a little uncomfortable, I knew that would be appreciated. And just being clear, not embellishing, not trying to write checks that I can't cash myself. I knew that was important. Yeah, that's about it.
I mean, the whole
thorough.
It's humble, hungry, smart, right? Yeah. So we're looking for very specific characteristics. We tell the candidate what we're looking for, and so it presents you with an opportunity to actually present some humility. Yeah. Show that you're actually hungry, you want to accomplish something great, and show that you're intelligent, because how someone writes, it's not that you have to use large words. Right? It depends. It depends on the position, right? A director of operations is going to be a lot different than a CSR or admin position. Probably. But how somebody writes and how they write in that Humble, Hungry, Smart questionnaire is going to be a reflection of how they're writing to your clients.
Yes. Right.
Can they communicate effectively in written word? Yeah. It doesn't have to be big words, but it needs to be like a 7th or 8th grade level of communication, right? Well, I think the average is 8th grade is the average person communicates in 8th grade. Yeah. So they don't use big words. They use short sentences. Like, that's normal. And so if they can communicate that way, that's really good, because that means our average client is they're going to relate to them. They're going to email from them and they're going to go, yeah, that makes total sense. Right.
They're not intimidated by large words.
Yes. Yeah. It's not like, insurances and stuff like that, and so once we get that back, that kind of, again, I usually give like a 3 or 4 day timeline. Yeah. But
that was the other thing. I knew it had to be done in a timely manner.
Yes.
Like right there. I think I did it that day. Maybe day of.
I'm pretty sure it was that day. Yeah. And so, but I give a 3 or 4 day timeline because, I'm actually giving you a 3 or 4 day timeline, but I want to see if you take 3 days, you better bring some heat. Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. For sure. So either I want something that's good enough and quick, or I want, like, you better bring perfection. Right. You better not have a comma missing if you're taking 3 days to get it back to me. Right. And so it's a little bit of a test there. Yeah. And these are like the little nuanced things that people miss. So I give them 3 days, we get it back. That determines whether they move on to the next phase. The next phase is a face-to-face interview with me only, or whoever's making the hiring decision, or be the manager only. And the important thing is that this is so some of the things that are missing in a lot of people's businesses are how you measure success for that position. Well, you need to have a performance-based interview. Yeah. And so that performance-based interview is going to be actually things that they're actually going to be measured on in the job. From there, if they continue, the next step is the Kolbe Index, KOLBE, and then they move to Discovery Day, where they actually come in for a 3 or 4 hour period and do the job and work with the people they're actually going to work with on a day-to-day basis. Solve a problem. And solve some problems, give them a test to actually make sure they can actually problem solve through it. And then there's a group interview with our entire team. And only then, a unanimous decision by our team that, yes, thumbs up, hire this person, do they get hired. And so that's a lengthy process. It can take 30 to 45 days, but you will get 100% of the time A players. Thank you for listening to the show today. Please make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at the Mardigian Agency. Thanks, and we'll see you next time on Be Insured.